Welcome back to another episode of Blam Blam Truckers. We are back and we are talking about Transformers D6, the unofficial role playing game, as created by our great friend, the High King. We are in Chapter 5, Part 3. That's right, Part 3 of Chapter 5. I think this one's actually going to end up being longer than Chapter 2. Well, if Chapter 2 had four parts, this is probably ending up at 3. So, here we go. We are on Insecticons, and I just clicked off of the Insecticons, which is too bad. Hunk of Junk, we covered Hunk of Junk last time. And creating Dinobots, covered that. Now we are on Insecticons. Yes, Insecticons. So Insecticons are the Decepticons' version of a Dinobot. Well, they're the answer, really, to the Dinobot. They have 3 major drawbacks and 3 major bonuses. So they start off as energy cravers. This is their drawback. The Insecticons are energy cravers, almost to the point where feeding on something for energy takes precedence over just about anything else except self-preservation. Because of this, they, like the Dinobots, are rarely trusted with assignments that require discretion. Every hour they must make a difficult willpower roll to avoid having to feed. The check is modified by the sources of energy available. If there are electrical lines, power plants, huge power generators, etc., then the Insecticon will almost certainly find the need to feed overwhelming. Also, if they are low on energon, the difficulty will be much greater. After gorging to the point of energon replenishment, the roll is moderate to resist. So if you're at full power, then you're fine. Well, assuming you can make a moderate willpower roll, which, again, is at an average of 3D to 4D. So consider that in your character creation. You need a decent willpower roll most of the time. Hate of all pesticides. One of the best ways to keep Insecticons away from an area is to spray it with pesticides. They will not feed and hate the smell of it. All actions taken with the pesticide-sprayed area will be at -1D. I don't know what else to tell you. They are insects, after all. Compact. Insecticons were built to be lightweight and resourceful users of their environment and what is at hand. Due to their Insecticon bonuses, their energy battery systems and payload room may have scrimped on purposely to make they feel like they're always hungry. Oh, buddy, I love you, THK, but you needed an editor here. I'm going to say what I think this is supposed to say. Due to their Insecticon bonuses, their Energon battery systems and payload room may have been scrimped on purposefully to make them feel like they're always hungry and to limit the amount of items they can take with them to feed on. Their energy supply is 50, and they cannot take the reserve special ability. Since they are Decepticons, they lose 1 tool for robot flight already, but in addition, they lose 1 point of payload. 3 major bonuses. Super Energon Vampire. They're always hungry, and they've got small stomachs. Their need to feed, powers them. And as long as there are things to feed on, they don't need to recharge. They'll eat anything that has electrons in it, which is, well, just about anything. They prefer a high concentration of electrons or sources that are already rich in energy, but they'll also eat wood, concrete, and even opponents. They receive the special ability of Energon Vampire 1 for free, but the ability is supercharged, allowing them to gain energy from just about any source. The ability of feeding is a 1 point of energon per 10-point gain for materials such as wood. Power cables and walls of generators may generate more. Drone explosion pods. Okay. So they can fill up on energy very quickly just by eating. And anything. They can eat dirt. Anything with electrons in it. They can break it down and feed on the electrons and leave the highly charged ions of the nucleus gone. Anyway, this here, the drone explosion pods, this is a game breaker. I do not want to GM an Insecticon player. They are nasty. Okay. And this is why. While they have limited payload, Insecticons can fire a surprisingly devastating weapon to use against opponents. When their energon limit reaches 50, they can launch an explosive pod that releases 20 times their number of drones. The explosion itself does no damage, all of which appear to be identical to the Insecticon, but have their attribute scores for all of their skills. So they don't have any skill bonuses, but they have the same attributes as your player character or your NPC. Only one can be fired at a time, and another drone explosion pod cannot be fired until all remaining drones are dispatched. The drones are completely loyal to the Master Insecticon, and they are linked as if they are an extension of the Master Insecticon. What they see, the Insecticon sees. That is a game breaker. May not seem like it, but I can assure you. Well, I'll give you some examples. Okay, so some examples of this. Well, examples may be the wrong word, because I never played with an Insecticon because I realized, well, that's not true. It's not that I realized how dangerous they would be, it's just I don't think any of my players ever saw the real appeal of this. And I've only done Autobot campaigns so far, and these guys are clearly Decepticons, though you could make a traitor. It wouldn't be that hard to make a traitor character who was an Insecticon and came over to the Autobots. But let me take a sip of the old watery roux. How can it be so natural for so many different people who speak English in other countries to say weird things like watery roux or come up with kiddie sounding names for things, adults, and yet for Americans it just sounds childish. Anyway, I've been watching a lot of foreign television lately. Well, not a lot. I don't watch a lot of television, but I've been watching foreign television lately. So here's the deal. When you hit 50 energon, which depending on your build is not that hard to hit, you're going to be there a lot. Plus you can regen energon incredibly fast. You can fire off an explosive pod that releases 20 identical versions of you, all of which only use your attribute scores, and you control them as the player. And it doesn't even say how much it costs in energon. That's a mistake. I would have it drop you down to about 10. Anyway, when you have them all going out and attacking and or doing your bidding, whatever it is, you've just taken over the battlefield, because you build your Insecticon with 5D strength and 5D agility, not agility, dexterity, 5D strength, 5D dexterity. You could even, and that's 10 of your dice, which leaves you 2D in your other 4 attributes. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 5 is 10. That's 18. So you're not even below average in any of your attributes at that point. You're average in all your other attributes. You're 5D in dex, you're 5D in strength. You're going to be these without even walking into your skills or using any of your skills at that point. You're devastatingly all of these pods of yours are going to be kick butt warriors, and so are you for that matter. You're going to be better. You have skill upgrades, but all of your drones are just devastatingly powerful, ridiculously powerful at 5D strength and 5D dexterity. Those are the two. I mean, they're not great sneakers because they don't have perception, and they're not great thinkers, but they're drones, so you don't look for them to be great thinkers, and they can't repair much. Oh no, my drones can't do repairs real well. That's not really a problem. Boom. And if you want more than that, then you go to that, what I told you guys was a common thing. You do 4D in 2 attributes, 3D in 2 attributes, and 2D in 2 attributes. And if you do 4D in your strength and dexterity, 3D in your perception and say mechanical, it doesn't have to be mechanical, it could be technical. In fact, technical would be a good option because then your drones could do crazy repairs. 3D is a decent score for repair, it's above average. Anyway, it's very easy to break. And now, what are you going up against in a standard encounter, in a normal game that isn't going to be completely and utterly destroyed by 20 drones? 20 drones. It's just a game breaker. I don't know if you ever played this out, and THK, I love you, but this one rule right here is the game breaker. Yeah. All right. Six-legged attackers moving forward. In robot or insect mode, an attempt can be made to grapple with two robot or insect appendages. If successful, the Insecticon may strike with up to two other arms or legs at once at the opponent. While the attack may be at 1d for accuracy, the damage is plus 2d. So when you're in melee combat, you have 6 limbs instead of 4. So from a melee standpoint, if they've got you grappled well, you're getting pummeled. You're just going to get pummeled by them with additional damage. So again, put your strength up to 5d or 6d and get in with your brawling, get up nice and close, grab them, and then just beat them. You got a guaranteed 2d damage bonus. If your strength's at 5d to start with, now you're doing 7d for your class. And if you're a class 2, or which most Transformers are class 2, and then the next most common is class 1, and the least common is class 3. But if you're a class 2 Insecticon, which is perfectly normal, you're doing 7d class 2 damage. And then that 2d damage, that means you're doing 5d class 3 damage and 9d class 1 damage. And you've got them grappled first. So yeah, it's pretty devastating. Insecticons are powerful. So this is a character Pilfer. He's class 2 Insecticon. He's on par with our favorite Insecticons, Bombshell, Kickback, and Shrapnel. And he transforms into a moth. Character creation is fairly easy and will follow much the same path that we've already seen, how to choose stats. You start with attributes, you add in skills. We've seen it before in the other videos. Not going to cover it again here. He went with an average, completely average character here, 3D straight down, which is fine. Even then, you're still going to be powerful. Your drones are going to be particularly powerful. Your drones are going to, at 3D average, at 3D and everything, your drones are going to be able to be above average at every skill. 2D is average, 3D is above average, 4D is professional, 1D is below average. So, yeah, the way my games run, game breaker. Game breaker. So this is his actual build. You can pause the screen and read it if you'd like to. He improved dodge. Oh, him and his breakdowns into specializations. So he improved just the minigun as a specialization. Added 1D into martial arts, so now that's 2.3D. Nothing into run. Sneak he improved by 1D. And let's see what else. Willpower 3D. Resisting feeding frenzy. He brought that specialization up to 4D. That's pretty good. No improvements in mechanical. Command. No improvements in perception. Strength, he improved brawling by 5D. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.6, I think, at this point. There's more than that. Did I miss something? 5.3, 2.3, 3.3, 3.6. Nothing in mechanical, nothing in perception. 2D brings us to 5.6 when he improves strength. And in technical, the 0.6 brings it up to 6 points because he does heavy machine guns as a conventional weaponry pair. He's short of die. Yeah, I just double checked. He is short of die. He has one more skill he could improve unless I've missed something. You guys see anything I missed? Oh, sneak. Sneak got brought up to 4D. He is not short of die. He did it right. I did it wrong. Good job, THK. You get his movement speeds. He is faster as a flying moth than he is as a walking robot. 50 energon supply, and looks like he took Quadranian. Nope, standard armor. Experience points 5, life points 2. So he started off as 2. Okay, we're at the integrated sets here. So just looking at the character sheet before we go into his description here, just looking at it, blank. He took, it should be reading, IW, integrated weapon, energon consuming, should be 2, but that he moved it down to 0. Integrated weapon fuel consuming or ammo consuming should be 2. He brought that to 4. So he took 2 points out of energon, put it into IWFC. Cool. Should have 2 points into physical state weapons, which he does. He should have 1 point in EP, which he does, and he should have 1 point in chemistry, which he does. He has 3 points into special abilities, but if you check, those 3 points are robot flight, which he got from losing a tool point as a Decepticon. Super energy vampire, which he got from being an Insecticon. Insecticon drones, which he got from being an Insecticon. And then engineer. So he really only chose one special ability, engineer, which halves the cost of tool use for engineering tools. Speaking of, let's take a look at chemistry. What page is that? 59, I think, and we're on page 99. Let's see if I can remember that. 59, chemistry. Micro-optical enhancer, so he can look at small stuff better. Corrosive inhibitor and acid dispenser. So he picked up an acid dispenser, and he himself gets a resistance against acid. So if we can find that. Corrosive inhibitors, 1d to armor roll to aid in protection against corrosive substances, primarily acid, and then acid dispenser. Acid ejector that shoots 1... it shoots 5d, it shoots 2d damage, and those are the ranges, and he gets 5 shots of it. So that's interesting. So let's get back to page 99. Cool. Hold on, I'm going to put you guys on pause real quick. I just got an email I need to check. Okay, where was I? Sorry about that, guys. Real life got in the way. It happens, I swear. You've seen it before. Okay, so we covered all this. Engineer makes all of that cheaper, the acid and the acid corrosion resistance and the microscope, basically, for really small movements. You know what? It's page 60. Let's see what it was. So a micro-optical enhancer is 1D to spot scan and search rolls under 1 meter away. Pardon me. Yeah. That's very interesting. And we are back with Pilfer. Yeah, I covered all this. Not much more to say. He uses a dual minigun as a weapon. His EP is an extra belt for the minigun, so he has 50 shots. I'm sorry, 65 shots. And he's got a plus 2d damage physical state weapon. Yeah. Pretty dangerous, really. Even at 3D all the way down. So now we're going to cover Gestalts, or combiners. So he built this for the G1 standard combiner type, which is like Menasor, Superion, or, Abominus. Was Abominus one of the G1s? Yeah, Abominus. Not Devastator, though it wouldn't be that hard to use this to apply to Devastator. So here's how it goes. Typically there are 5 members of the team, 1 class 3 robot who represents the body, and the head of the combiner robot, and 4 Class 2 robots to represent the combiner robot's limbs. Occasionally, the team consists of 6 Class 2 robots, 2 of which must have the combiner body specialization in order to form the body. So I guess he does have rules for a 6 group combiner like Devastator. Step 1, turn all the attributes for the team members into their pip count. So 3 pips is 1 die, 4 pips are 1 die plus 1, 1d plus 1, 5 pips are 1d plus 2, 6 pips are 2d, etc., etc., and so forth. The Aquabots. I really do appreciate the level of work he puts into these guys. Really just did a fantastic job. For one guy doing this whole thing, yeah, a couple of beta test players and that was it. So here's the chart we want to look at. This is all of their attribute stats broken down into pips. So if you look at Riptide, so just divide by 3 and you'll know what their die count was. So this is 3D, 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 4D, 2D. Now, they don't have to be multiples of 3. We've talked about, especially when we went over Dinobots, we talked about how your stats can be, not multiples of 3, like even up here. You could have a stat of 1D plus 1, 1D plus 2. You could have 3D plus 2. And all of those become pips. You add them up, and then you total up their attributes by the attribute. So you add up all their dexterity, and he has a dexterity of 60, all of them combined. A knowledge of 39, a mechanical of 36, a perception of 45, which is quite decent, and a strength of 51, which is his highest stat, and also a technical of 39. So then you just divide it by 5. Or the number of combiners on the team, technically. That's step 2. Take the totals for the team and divide by the totals by the amount of members of the team. So if you have 6 people, you divide by 6. If you have 5 people, you divide by 5. Not rocket science. Round to the closest whole number when dividing. So he goes through. You can read this. Back into your dice form, and you'll see the attributes of your Class 4 robot. So those are the attributes: 4D dexterity, 3D plus 1 strength, 2D, 3D perception. It's not bad. Skills are figured normally for the combiner, the Autobot Gestalt, Typhoonicus. Sorry, Typhoonicus sounds funny to me. Would have up to 8 dexterity skills, 4 to 6 skills under knowledge and technical, around 4 skills under mechanical, and around 6 skills in perception and strength. So yeah, movement is figured normally for a Class 4 robot as well. He goes through the movement there. Energon supply is figured to be at 100 points at Class 4, unless a reserve special ability is chosen. Existing armor is 1D, again at Class 4, against physical attacks, and plus 2 against energy. Yeah. Remember, the difference between Class 2, so the difference between human scale and Class 1 is 2D. Class 1 to Class 2 is 2D. Class 2 to Class 3, 2D. Class 3 to Class 4, 6D. It is a huge jump. Gestalt transformers are devastatingly powerful, hence why Devastator is the first one. That's not why, but we're going to go with it. Step 7. Experience points start out at 5 the first time there's a merging. The giant robot gains experience only when the others are combined to form it. In other words, experience points from team members are not used to buy and improve skills or other robot traits of the Gestalt robot. We treat this robot as if it's its own character. Once the team is merged into the Gestalt, it has its own separate pool of experience points. These points are kept track of separately by the GM or by the leader of the team. Whatever. You guys should be able to keep track of how many experience points you have. How you run it, and I don't think he covers this. He does not. So disposition numbers, I don't use them, but you go through them just like you do creating a normal character. And integrated weapons, you guys got to figure this out as a team. If you have 5 players playing as a Gestalt team, then they need to get together and decide how they want their Gestalt robot to form. Now, how do you run it? That's the question. Who's in charge? If you have 5 players playing one giant robot, how does it run? Who's in charge of it? Me, personally, I would do it by turns. So we would pick an order, or we'd roll for initiative to see who gets the first shot, and every time each player would be able to choose what they do on the next turn. So turn 1, let's say, we'll just go in order. Gust would go for, the player who's controlling Gust would control Typhoonicus, still a funny name, would control Typhoonicus for round 1. And then Whirlpool's player would control him for round 2. Riptide's player would control him for round 3, and then Pontoon, and then Trident. Fair enough? That's how I would do it. Now, we could also do it by committee, but it's a 5-second rule. You guys don't get to argue over... I don't need you guys arguing for 30 minutes over what to do in a 5-second turn. So having someone always being in charge makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Or they could elect a leader, or they could plan out their strategy in advance, but I would have them take turns. That's how I would do it. You know, your mileage may vary. All right. All right. Exosuits, Target Masters, and Headmasters. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Okay. So he suggests you review the skills Armor Weapons and Power Armor Evasion Operation, because he's going to be borrowing the rules for Power Armor that are in the Star Wars West End Games D6 system. If you're going to be a human or a Nebulon piloting an exosuit, you're going to want to have these skills, because that's how you power your that's how you run your exosuit. So you know how to make a human character, you know how to make a class 1 robot. When exosuits are involved, I'm just going to start reading now from the 3rd, 4th sentence here. When exosuits are involved, blending of 2 characters is made. The character uses the human skills and special abilities, but within the class 1 suit. The armor rating of the suit's special abilities, integrated weapons, tools, payload, and physical state weapons are all at the human character's disposal. So basically, in an exosuit, you become a class 1 transformer. Now, these are heavily inspired from Transformers the movie and then the Headmaster cartoon series that came afterwards. The cartoon Transformers the movie, not any of the Bay films, and ongoing. So, yeah, this is just a straight up exosuit. This is before we even get into Target Masters and Headmasters. Advantages: the basic rover exosuit allows a human character to transform into a vehicle capable of speeds of 200 miles per hour. You turn into a small car. The wearer is typically 9 to 11 feet tall within the suit and enjoys the abilities of a Class 1 Cybertronian in addition to any special abilities a human may have, which is pretty cool. So you make a Class 1 and you make a human, and I would not be changing your attributes much, but it would work out. There's probably some kinks in here we haven't tried, because I haven't done this in game. I was planning on doing it in one of my games, but it never came to fruition, unfortunately. Yeah. So, Target Masters, Nebulons. They don't have to be Nebulons. They can be humans. They can be, Class 1 Transformers. But this is the next option. It's becoming a Target Master or a Headmaster. You actually get binary. It's the same thing. The Target Master exosuit does several things. The wearer of the suit has a higher armor rating and the integrated weapons and special abilities that a basic rover or Headmaster exosuit may have. But in addition, the Target Master exosuit allows a human character to transform into a Class 1 weapon. So while you're in your suit, when you have your armor on, you, basically um, becoming a headmaster or a target master turns you into a cyborg. You go through a binary bonding process that turns you into a cyborg. And when you have the suit off, you're still mostly human. But when you have the suit on, you are a target master or a headmaster or a power master. But he doesn't cover that in this guide. Um, so, the target master exosuit allows a human character to transform into a class 1 weapon, usually enough points. So you take all your IWFC and IWEC and you turn it into one weapon. And that one weapon you can use yourself in human form, or like channeled out of your arms as like blasts from your suit or whatever, or it turns into a really good a really good class 2 weapon. And he's going to go over that. For example, a Target Master exosuit that transforms into an ion rifle capable of 6D in Class 1 damage can do 4D in Class 2 damage. That's pretty much an ion pistol, Class 2. That's not bad. Another huge advantage is that the Class 2 wielder of the Target Master weapon is not burdened by action penalties when firing his or her gun. So if you're like on a turret on their shoulder or something, which we saw a lot of in G1, we saw a lot of turrets. You would be making your own shots in combat. The accuracy of the shots from the Target Master weapon are based off of the human character's armor weapons roll. Since the character inside the armor is human and the armor is class 1, all armor weapon rolls are at a negative 2D penalty when firing at scale sizes smaller than class 1. That's fair. So when you're in the suit, you're a class 1. When you're out of the suit, you're not. You're a human scale again. A human character operating a power armor suit, that is a class 1 suit. Human character's class 1 armor has 8D in armor weapons. Against human-sized target, he or she is at 60 for accuracy. Against class 1 targets, 8D for accuracy. Yeah. Against class 2 targets, 10D for accuracy. Against class 3 targets, blah, blah, blah. Target masters are excellent shots, and the target masters are selected from occupations amongst humans that do a lot of weapons training and shooting. Rootin' shooting cowboys. Yeah. Then headmasters. Basically the same thing. We're not going to go over play again. The headmaster exosuit is similar in design and ability to the target master, except instead of turning into a weapon, the suit transforms into the class 2 robot's head that the headmaster serves with. The target master comes into his or her own usually when the class 2 robot is in robot form. It serves as a weapon. The headmaster comes into his or her most of the time as a class 2 robot is in vehicle form. I disagree with this, but we'll keep reading. They free up the Class 2 robot to perform weapons, communications, and sensor roles without having to worry about piloting, driving, and vehicle dodge roles. Headmasters are excellent pilots. Headmasters are selected from occupations amongst humans that do a lot of flying and or driving. So your headmaster can also do plenty for you while in robot mode. He can control the body just as well as the robot can, according to lore. It's a combination of the two of them. Basically, you get a second turn, a second set of actions, or a free action when you play a headmaster every round. And the body can't be in two places at once. That's what we as game masters have to be paying attention to, and you as players need to be paying attention to. The robot, if the robot's having you move one way and the headmaster is having you move another way, then there's going to be conflict and you're going to fall over. So you need a certain amount of synergy working with each other, which is great if you have it. So, yeah. But what it would look like if you were actually playing this out is whichever one of you has the higher initiative would go first. But hopefully you'd have a rhythm going between the two of you. And if the first person is like, we're going to get into range and take a shot, then they would do that. And the second guy can do communications rolls. He can do sensors rolls. He can, if you've got a gun in each hand, he can shoot with the other gun. He can pay attention to what's going on in the battlefield and get that information to you. He can make con rolls. He can make persuasion rolls. If it's a she, whatever. You've got basically two actions. They can't necessarily both be physical actions, but it's amazing how much you can do there's no multiple action penalty basically to doing two things in a round if there's enough time to physically do it. So bear that in mind as a GM, get a feel for it as the players, and go from there. It's it's an advantage. It's a pretty cool advantage, but there you go. All right, that brings us to Chapter 6, Combat and Injuries, which I'm not going to get into right now. I'm going to end the recording. Thanks you guys for listening, for me prattling on for the last half hour or so, and I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, this is a great game system. I hope it gets a little bit more publicity and people actually start trying it out. It's a lot of fun. And thank you, the High King. And thank you, Hasbro, for creating the Transformers, for buying the Diaclone, licensing the Diaclone to sell in America, and Marvel for creating the characters and the storyline back in the 80s. Yeah. All you truckers out there, keep on trucking.